Hello everybody, this is Tiny Bunny. I found it on the Steam store and it is in early access right now, but it looked amazing compared to last week when I played a really bad scary game that I bought for $1. So, this is a linear story. I think it gives you choices. I haven't read up too much on it. I just saw gameplay of it a little bit, like the trailer, and it looked amazing. So, I just wanted to get into it on stream. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. So, we press new game. I hope the audio levels are okay. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot in its days, and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Thank you, URL. Thank you. Episode 1. The owl will arrive. Quaint. Very quaint. Shallow and pedantic. Yes. Oh, this is a cute art style. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. I guess I only have the option to hide my book. Can I can't click her. Okay, I guess hide book. I might need to turn off, like, the talking. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. Dude, based. Reading Conan the Barbarian? I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from commercials. Okay. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the upper hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from Consto Odyssey? I love that show. Sorry if I butchered that. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. What? It just fell out of your hand, bro? Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling that nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this, carved on the other side of the table? Karina. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the seconds coming from the attic? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming to my little mom's room, sitting on the edge of her bed where Olya sleeps nowadays, and says this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. One second. Can I... You like the voice acting? Let me... voice. Ah, there we go. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in the times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you underground. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. These were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Oh, I guess in her old age, they, like, fought a lot. She looks like a witch. No offense. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening to one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures of gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look on their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olya was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Olya, look, it's a fox. Where? It looks almost like the optical illusion thingies they put in the back of students' notebooks. Kurama, this is Kurama, dude. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look a certain angle, not outside, on the window. Look, he's there. Here's the nose, and here's... Hey, Ida! Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, there's not much left. Ah, there it is, but it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you, it does. Nuh-uh. It does. Stop it, these kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared, went away. Only the frosty pattern seems similar to stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up on the glass. Maybe there was a fox on the other side of the window. You ever think about that? My dad entered the kitchen with long measured steps. Oh, look at this absolute Chad. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. Mom would always ask, jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point of all this?" through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply, "for the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. Divorce, I would assume. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. I did it for you, brother. Don't worry. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again. You said you believed me just yesterday. Has anybody seen my car keys? I remembered leaving them in the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, and maybe not. You're a grown man, a father of 2, and still... Karina, please, stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket. In the basket, near the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr of yourself and finish eating already. But the owl... There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Okay. I'm wondering if this game is gonna be all text. If my like mouth is gonna be dry after like 10 minutes. I don't know. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers the size of an apple each. Last year, you had Babai in your closet, and now this owl? But I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth to Dad, from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice? Don't bully our girl. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. Yeah, girl, you go pout. Your dad's kind of a poop head. He's kind of a poo-poo head. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Oh yeah, that glare is very devastating. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute passed and the theme song for The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad had already glued together once. URL, stop being weird. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room, and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Dude, just eat your food. Is the food really that bad? Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn and curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh, don't do that to me, dude. Is that the owl? And then Olya said she saw a giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of the ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After last night, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words. What to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? That night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect from my new school. There was a couple of days left before the beginning of the new term. My imagination drew long, twisting hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind the desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creature were looking at me from behind the flat black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down, stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wished for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who were itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawings hanging on the wall. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circles of friends I had also enjoyed my painting, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number." Or, "Anton is not around. Anton is not around." I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside of their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all. But who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when I was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. That's sweet. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with a neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall. Cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I really can't call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easygoing during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners of the closet, cobwebs, and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family with the ashen eyes were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking. Rusty drains were moaning. The attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized that I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. I need a water break. I need to take a sip of water, man. This is heavy on my on me talking. I usually talk during my whole stream, but this is crazy. It was mixed in with the sounds of wind, of the creaking houses, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that the music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing in there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Okay, open it. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, look out. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, is that a Naruto battle? Is that Kurama? Someone was dancing in the field. I don't think that's someone. I think that's something, brother. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were clearly not wolves. This is an epic fight amongst the 12 beasts. They stood up right at times, circled around, holding hands, and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment and then coming back. Dude, no, these are skinwalkers. They're skinwalkers, but they're playing. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Oh? Suddenly the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted with a bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. Don't do that. Don't do that. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside a cage. Dude, go back to bed and close your window. That's what I would do. If I saw like a... Oh my gosh. I shut the curtains. Yeah, good. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guests move and scrape around looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guests should be at the front door. I jumped into bed and covered myself with a blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remembered the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll. Ants running up and down the legs of chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling up her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. Okay, how old's this kid? And does he have a psychiatrist? I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Bouillon, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair, for the spawn from devil's lair to feast and always leave alone. God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hanged man. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly clawing at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remembered him staring at the forest intensely, as if he were looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them. Drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then... oh no! The doorknob twitched slightly. Then it turned halfway, once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter has no hands. The knob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped from fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked open and the wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now, you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Sha. It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling and snared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. Anthony. My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tasha, are you asleep? Oh. My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Olya, I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It was there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tasha, please. I'm so scared. The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olya down. What a good brother. He's like, oh, I was scared at once, but now that she's here, I feel like protecting her. That's good. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? The questions took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it wouldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard or long ashen hair. Tasha, you coming? Yes, just a moment. Get the flip out of here! Oh my gosh! Oh! God, dude, I have goosebumps. You can't see it, but I have goosebumps. Oh my gosh. That was great. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I think the talking was worth it. That was a good scare. That's why I don't want to laugh at Olya and her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled just from a silly thought that our morning guests couldn't have come from the woods. I could barely hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. In the closet, under the table, behind the curtains, where Olya always hides. Tasha, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet, but still dragging them towards the hallway. Oh, a couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars, worse than bandits. At the moment, though, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? The senior officer, who wore a grim expression, nodded. A boy had gone missing yesterday. His name was Vova. Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. I don't know who that is. I have no clue. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with the wall carpet as he has a backdrop. He has had a striped cat in his hands, and he wore a wide smile. That's I don't think that's Barack Obama. Honestly, sorry. No, I haven't. Actually, no, it kind of... No. No, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave the house. Well, maybe you've seen him from the window? That's right! Your window looks straight into the forest, don't they? The window. No, I haven't seen anything. But yeah, but like... Okay, they say your window looks out to the forest, right? But who is like casually sitting there like looking out the window? You know? At the time of VHS tapes and all that, who is like actually just sitting at a window staring outside? I see. Yeah, I've seen animals dancing. It was the tailed beasts fighting. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwittingly under the weight of guilt which his giant shadow casted over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over to the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which I haven't noticed before for some reason. How'd you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit. It's just our little daughter misses the city a lot. Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well? Yes, everything's alright, thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his brown eyes. My head started spinning. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to look like a polite boy, and to end this unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, you look just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age, wears the same type of goggles. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visited this summer. Wanted to help other people, just like me, see? I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay home. Steer away from trouble. The times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice. You don't say. Ah, well then, what grade are you in? Or what grade are you in, Anton? 6th. Have you made any friends here so far? Not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break. Ah, then I'll leave you my number just in case. Call me if you have any new info. I don't think he's the wolf. The police were gone along with their shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of a smiling boy. His face still stood before my eyes. Hey, how's it going, Muxie? How's it going? Welcome to the chat. We're playing some spooky wookie games. Maybe he does know about the animals. Maybe it's a local thing, but it's like untold. You know what I'm saying? You know? What brings you in here, Muxie? You just, you saw this game on Steam and wanted to check it out, or? Because so far it's pretty good. It's a lot of talking. It's not a lot of playing. It's very linear, but it's pretty good. I'm liking it. I like the art style and the jump scares. I wondered what it was like for him, being all alone there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? And what would my parents do if I gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually? Mom, this is Vova. Did he go missing in our forest? Seems like it. Poor child. The mother's the killer. She killed him. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. You're from Russia? Interested to see the reactions to the story. I've already read the game of Foreigners. Okay. It's so far it's so good. Yeah, I got the scares are pretty good. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the windowsill. I remember all the teenage mystery novels from the Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigated all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, bam! Solved a complicated case. They become local celebrities and must have made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policemen's footprints that led into the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? You're like 11. That sounds like a terrible idea. That sounds like a terrible idea. Don't encourage him. Maybe I'll find that lost boy, and I'll get a reward. Olya will be so happy. Maybe not only Olya, Mom and Dad too. I can fix them. All of their problems are me. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe I'll even save us from the D word, divorce. I fantasized about buying Olya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player and a bunch of tapes for myself. And a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time our parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad lost his job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had little to no idea what the accountant's job. I had little to no idea what was the accountant's job like. They count money, I think. Neighbors used to envy us. By the way, I warn you, in episode 4, there's scenes for which Twitch will not pat on the head. Be careful. As in nudity? As in, like, is it nudity? Because if am I gonna get banned because of it, or is it more of like they probably? Yeah, no. If it's nudity, then I shouldn't show it. But yeah, if it's killing and stuff, it'll be fine. Okay, you don't know how to say it as long as it's not naked bodies or like okay. We'll get there when we get there, I guess. Okay. Neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had money to afford sweets, and Dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Olya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a pipsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? The forest is so thick. What if the boy got snatched up by wild animals or something even worse? Even worse. Echoed through the hallway. I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I said, or should I repeat myself? Better go pack your school bag or play with Olya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. That didn't sound like water. It meant that the argument was over and Mom had the last word. We get options. We get options. I don't think... if it was me, I'd stay in my room, dude. I wouldn't... that's what separates me from, like, other people, I guess, though. But what is this? Is this under the stairs? I'm gonna open under the stairs. Maybe we have some stuff that we need to get before we go out to the outside. The dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice, but how would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself on the freshly sharpened axe. And Olya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Babai is living there. I think to help her fight her fears once, I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there was nothing but cobwebs, Dad's tools, and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in the closet to listen to Olya count outside. 1, 2, 3, better hide from me. And then drag her feet in the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to look for me on the inside cramped monster's den. Okay. Alright, I guess we go to the front yard. Let's just go gung-ho outside. Anton! I'll whip you if you make a single step out the door. Okay, let's go to the kitchen. Hey, Mom! Oh, wait. Oh, I didn't read it. Mom, something's wrong with the TV. The pictures is dim and the stripes all over the screen. You're killing me here. So you have had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now. Told you the kinescope will go dim because of your console. Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh? Maybe it's just the settings. Please go see for yourself. Strange, it worked fine this morning. Maybe the snowfall caused it? Mom rubbed her hands clean and her apron and went to Olya's room. Yes! Wait. There's no time for this. Mom will come back soon. You can click the go back sign? Yeah, I can. Let me... Senior Lieutenant Tikhanov. Oh, no. What? What? Okay, what's this? No time for that. Heard. Okay, no time for that. I'm clicking everything. Open this. No time for that. Okay. Well, we got a note, so that's cool. Go outside. I opened the front gate and went into the field, carefully so my mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed half of the distance towards the forest, the snow piles became high as my knees. I remembered my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around, holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head all its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but the aftertaste was still there, distant, ringing on my ears, distorted shadows crawling on the snow alongside me, and barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent I felt like the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olya. The time reached its limit. A one-way trip that ended at the forest's piney stockade. Sometimes silence was much scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olya turned to stone, listening to them. But then always came the ringing silence. Our apartment became numb a couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time Mom and Dad joked around, laughing, or spent time together. almost like all of it was in a previous life. When they kissed with Olya present, she always frowned and snorted in a funny way. But one day it all changed. Something important had left our home, and something scary filled the remaining void. I'm thinking I'm gonna have a premonition about this series. These right here. I'm gonna have a premonition that the monsters are like symbolism for the lack of love in his life, or like lack of love in his household. Boom. There's my premonition. It was as if a fire broke out, and our parents were hurriedly packing our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who, though? From the people with dead cold eyes who sometimes visited us in our previous home? The eyes that only saw balls of worms on the black ground in the evening, and somewhere far away a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming menace. I shuddered, chasing away my delusions, and looked around. There was only me, the white field, and the wind that was whipping up icy dust and belts of powdered snow. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in contrast with the blinding whiteness. Knobby tree roots slithered under the snow like fat snakes. Rotten leaves and coniferous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from the pointy branches. Ah, this was in the trailer! I tried to get closer, drowning in snow, and when I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semi-dark. Should I take it to the police? The senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my favorite TV show called The Streets of Broken Lights. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the chat, dude. We got some more Russians in here. Welcome, welcome. Okay. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find the lost boy? Vova. I heard the distant shout like it came from the river. Vova. As if the trees were calling out to someone. Vova. Resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees? What? Hiding? Vova. I knew someone was looking for the lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Where's the figure? I don't see him. You got a new follower. Hey, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. It always really helps, Geronimo. Its stillness, how it was bent unnaturally towards the ground. Can I see it from here? I want to see this figure. Its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and rot. Is this the figure? It's all just my imagination. A nearby bird flaps its wings loudly. A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back to the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all. Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles were tightly sprung, my heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any small whisper from the thicket, I'd sprint. But nothing of the sort happened. Okay, I looked at the mitten once more. I'm gonna take it. What do I look like, dude? I'm not a wuss. I'm gonna take it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from the branch. No! Stop. Vova. A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved in the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped towards the... No, don't get it now. You run now. You run. You don't go towards it. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The branch cracked and the mitten tore off, landing in my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy, wet. I squeezed it without thinking. Something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny string between the mitten and the snow. Okay, steam rose from the snow pile. Is that blood? I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red. The sound of cracking branches invaded the silence. I didn't have to think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snow was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts flew through my mind. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there was one more voice, probably one of reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You could do it, don't stop. I hear an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt like the sound had come from a pack of hungry beasts rather than a single one. Their nostrils sucked in the freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot! A wheeze! This is the owl, dude! The roars were coming from all directions now, from the dried-up raspberry bush, from twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. Felt like I was inside a nightmare. The snowy clearing became vicious, like quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my leg from the mushy trap just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the pile of snow was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my leg was gone, my boots slipped out of the hole, and my soles were on a hard surface again. I reached a clear path with one jump and from there, ran to my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. That house was my line of defense from the shadows that flapped their wings and the creatures that were hidden in the snow. I tripped over the doorsteps and smashed into the door. In all my hurry, I still managed to notice the claw marks. As if a dog was striking the wood with its paws, demanding to be let in so it could escape the cold. I hadn't noticed these marks when I was leaving. The heartbeat in my ears was much louder than my surroundings. This is loud. What if they were already in our front yard and Mom had locked the door? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and it obediently gave way. Oh, okay. Shoot, officer, shoot! Oh, good. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Good. Porch planks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs? What? My fingers slipped off the lock and I couldn't click it into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled hard on the iron doorknob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing on the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed at me in waves. It smelled of pine and sweat. Mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastened me with the same frigid voice she always used to when talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door? I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door. The smell was gone and the breath was too. If there was someone in the first place, of course. Here, mere 5 meters away from Mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting like snow in spring. And with it, the last bit of strength I had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness and detachment was gone. Mom looked the same as before all those quarrels. She finally saw my condition, my wet pants plastered with snow. Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home. Am I nothing to you? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like when I was very little and wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out, "Your dad can't find his cigarettes." Be honest, did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret? There was someone chasing me. I started as soon as I started explaining myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me, sniffing my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked into the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant and she covered her mouth with her hand. Look over there, at the fence. My heart started thumping as if I became prey once again and my pursuers were following me from the field. I could swear that I've heard something scratch that door just like my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger, and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in the snow through the icy winter patterns of the glass. Oh, it's some wolves. Oh, is that blood? Are they bleeding? Oh, no. Okay. It's just my imagination. Just a pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding of the hungry monsters that live on the edge of the forest. Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they'd rather be scared of you, Anton. They were chasing me like a bunny. And what if they're rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from my mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if it was her first time seeing them. What if they attack Olya? Ouch. Oh, Mom. I was nearly eaten to death. I almost died. And you're worried about Olya? Mom? I wish your dad could just shoot them all. Mom, look, they're alive. Huh? What? Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind. You're not a little kid anymore. Mom sighed in annoyance, and I felt so bitter that I bit my lower lip and fixed my gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner just to keep myself from crying. Welp, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life among monsters, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And what for? What use do I have for this? Mitten. Of course! A dark and sticky mitten that belonged to a lost boy made a squishy sound in my hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. That's my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom. Look, this is Volva's mitten. That boy the police were asking about this morning. It's drenched in blood. Oh, that's fresh blood. Why is it fresh blood? I found it hanging on a tree. I could show someone. Or somewhere. Let's call the police right away. Like the officer had told us. Mom, look. Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept onto my mom's contorted face. As if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream, but the images slip away. Stop at this moment. What? Mom, I have a bloody mitten. What do you want me to do with it? I'm helping. Olya will go insane if she hears you. She already has trouble sleeping and whines all the time. Who gives a toot? Just call the police. Are you joking around with this? No. Oh. Well. At that moment, I realized the mitten was actually wet from snow. There was no blood. You're crazy. Bro's crazy. He needs to be taken to a psychiatrist. Sorry, little bro, but yeah, you're crazy. I wanted to sink through the floor from embarrassment. Come here, my boy who cried wolf. Oh, don't just stand there. Come take your pills. Oh, he takes pills? I told you, he's crazy. A golden-colored pill reminiscent of a dead wasp fell onto my palm. Or you took one during breakfast. Don't talk over me. I told you to stay home and you... Dad would have given you a good whipping for that. Come on, take it, or you won't be able to sleep at night. And you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a mitten at all. It was a mitten. What are you talking about? Just like the forest monsters. You said maybe they're definitely giving him the pills to stop from finding the truth? What is this? What is that? Do you remember that game that like where they gave them pills to like forget about the like poopy situations they were living in? We Happy Few? This isn't We Happy Few. I don't feel like that. And only his owl? Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Either the pill had immediate effect or my overexcited brain didn't let fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing yawny indifference along with it. Anton, you done? See, you can do it when you try. What? Take off your coat. Are you asleep? No, Mom, I was just thinking. What about, I wonder? It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure she was looking at her own son and not some doppelganger that came from the forest. Is everything all right? You had the exact same expression when the policeman asked you about the window. I'm all right, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh. I'm fine. Bro, I'm tripping. Yo, these pills got me leaning. Seemed like the house had changed, and the sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared in the bathroom tiles. Oh, a spinning top. Yeah, I see that. It's really big, honestly. I don't think that's like a big top. The light bulbs felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva inside my mouth had a different taste. A melody from Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Olya was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episode and switched to other tapes. I slowly changed into my home clothes, stopped before the sink, and studied my reflection in the mirror like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar and Lago's voices died down. I walked past Olya's room and slipped into my own. I would get the little, they were tops, but like, I mean, yeah, you would just like spin them with your finger and it would like go in circles, and they usually had like swirls on it. But like, probably not the one that you would have. Hey, Monsters, Ghosts, UFOs, the Encyclopedia of Paranormal Phenomenon from Roseman Publishing. Loch Ness Monster, Medusa, Gorgon, Bigfoot. Olya is always scared of the book. She could barely handle sifting through the monster and alien sections with me, but the middle part where they start talking about ghosts really freaked her out. I even remember hunting ghosts after I'd read the book. I measured the distance between items on my table every evening and checked if they've moved due to some supernatural force come the morning. They didn't. Yeah, no. Yeah, I would expect so. But to be honest, what was I expecting? To meet Casper the Ghost? If you were, you were a naive little kid, or just a little kid. I dreamt of becoming an artist since my dad bought me my first comic book. That's a Ninja Turtle! Yo, man is based in his... He was reading Conan the Barbarian, now he's like... He has Teenage Mutant Ninja Needle Teetles? Fly magazine was the coolest. I especially like the big space-related edition with alien monsters, and that funny episode about a gendarme. I started drawing all kinds of stuff since that day, and I seem to be getting pretty good at it. One of my letters even got published in Fly once. Maybe someday they'll even publish my comic. Oh, I'm hearing knocking, but I'm still... What is that? Has she always been there? I didn't notice her until now, dude. The forest didn't look grim during the day. Entangled tree branches in the distance and snowy field between our house and the forest brought sleepiness to my eyes. But sometimes I would still catch myself looking at the window at the icy treetops. Olya, can I... Olya, what are you doing back there? Olya? Can I... Am I not allowed to look? My Triceratops figurine. I know about all sorts of dinosaurs. Velociraptors, Afrovenators, okay. I remember going to the movies, Jurassic Park, pictures of T-Rex in the hall. It turned its head and roared. I will open the drawer. I'm getting all the extra content. I'm getting the extra content. Okay, so he likes dinosaurs and rockets. That's cool. Anything else I can look at? Okay. I'll open the drawer now. One of the drawers was empty. I hid the policeman's phone number along with a mitten there. Oh. The simple action drained the last bit of strength from me. Go to sleep, man. You deserve it. You've had a long day. Only I noticed there was someone behind the curtains. Yeah. My tired hands dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to the medication I took or the stress I underwent, the room began to contort, as if the wind was blowing the walls out like a pair of sails. The corners of the room bent and... Dude, I am actually tripping. The only stable thing in the whole room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. A flimsy piece of cloth was stuck to my hidden visitor. I like how he says hidden visitor. That's... It's so poetic. Olya? Who else could be standing there? I stood up and licked my dried up lips. Yeah, Olya, it's so funny. The silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if it were a thick layer of darkness there, not a human being. I reached towards the curtains, beating my heart, controlled by medication. The wind sang in the field with a chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to the bed, just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing full well they were looking back at me. That's Olya. It's just Olya. They're looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains. It's just Olya. Gotcha. Yep. Boogie Olya. I knew it was you from the beginning. I did. A blindingly bright halo lit above Olya's head with the setting sun in the background. That's cute. My sister was shining. When she was just a baby, Dad always used to say she was shining with happiness. I always retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day and sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a light-woven child. I saw everything. Oh, really? What did you hide? She was just like my mom when she was little. Before she put on her sad mask of tiredness and switched to her commanding tone of voice. It's nothing, just... Olya ran up to the table, her eyes round, and asked, "You stole something and hid it there. Are you a thief?" What? Don't be stupid. I didn't steal anything. A clear image came to mind, that mitten hanging from the tree branch. Gosh, darn it. Stop doing that. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure standing behind black trees? Honestly, if you stole a mitten from like a shadowy figure behind a tree, I don't care who you are, you can have the mitten. That shadowy figure does not deserve to have that mitten if he's just creeping behind trees. From the forest, from the tilted figure, yep. Olya could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted. Then show me. Swear that you won't tell anyone, then I'll show you. Olya wore a plotting smile. I swear on Mom's heart. Okay, but if you lie, Mom dies. An oath she heard in one of the movies about the pioneers we've watched. Don't say things like that. Olya nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth with an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity that was splashing in her giant eyes. I opened the drawer and Olya leaned in, holding her breath. She's like, what? It's just a mitten. It looks like there was not just a simple mitten, but sort of an exotic critter. Is this someone's mitten? She said that if she couldn't understand what she saw, a certain boy lost it and got himself lost. Now you do understand how dangerous it is for kids to wander into the forest, right? He must be really cold out there. Will they find him? They will. The police are going house to house, showing his photo to everybody. Olya traversed the room with care and pressed her tiny palms against the window. And why are they going to the houses, not the forest? Are they scared? The question caught me off guard. The police aren't scared of anything. They've already scouted the forest. Yeah, right, flashed in my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny where darkness, cold, and whispers of icy branches dwell? If that's the case, how did they miss the mitten? Or did it appear later for me? No, it didn't appear later unless the killer is trying to, like, bait you. I changed the topic, as if trying to get Olya as far away as possible from the forest thicket. Ooh! Oh! We may get a reward if I go find this boy by myself. A lot of stuff, like in the Wheel of Fortune. Sounds cool, right? Olya wasn't listening to me. She was piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her. What if the owl got him? Nonsense. An owl won't be able to lift a human. But you know what? I was picking my words with the utmost care. I forced them out of my overexerted brain. Stay away from the forest. I think it's... How should I put this? It's cursed or something. Just like in a fairy tale? No, more like that spooky tape our parents hide from us. Olya shivered and stole a glance at the window. I saw you running away. Someone was chasing you? No, I was hurrying back home so Mom wouldn't be worried. As soon as I looked at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small fire would be gone. You're lucky. Mom won't even let me go outside. I'm like a princess in a tower. Can't go anywhere. I'll die from boredom here. You're wrong. No one has ever died from boredom. And you have me and your cartoons, and Mom and Dad will be good to each other soon. You know what I would wish for on my next birthday? I'd wish for Mom and Dad to turn into children so we can go play together like we used to. Yeah, and if you'd make them as small as bugs, we could place them into a little box. Olya giggled and tugged at my sleeve. Tasha, let's go watch Aladdin. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy. I'm too tired. I don't want to. Come on! It's so boring alone and Mom is always busy. Can we pick a cartoon you haven't seen before? I know all of our tapes by heart at this point. Not all of them. You haven't watched Peter Pan? Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it? And so much happens after that. Let's go, let's go! Maybe a bit later. Should I tell you how it ends? Let's leave that for tomorrow. I won't tell you tomorrow. I know. Let's play hide and seek. No, Olya. Then draw me a dino. Olya, please. Draw it, draw it. Leave me alone already. I blurted it out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken aback. I never screamed at my little sister like that. Olya stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Olya from crying. Alright, you win. Let's go watch cartoons for a bit. I don't wanna. I came up to her, put my hand on her soft head. Let's go. Let's go watch Peter Pan. Boo! You'll fall asleep again. I smiled and lifted her chin. Her eyes were wet and felt bottomless. I promise I won't. And I'll draw you a full Triceratops later. Hooray! Tripe-sire pops. Well, close enough. Olya rubbed her eyes with a sleeve of her pajamas, and a shining smile returned to her face. I'll go ask Mom for condensed milk and bread, and you rewind the tape. You guys remember that? When you had to rewind tapes? Do y'all remember that back in the VHS days? The bread is fresh, just how you like it. Alright, just be careful not to spill the milk. Or you'll be yelled at again. Want to bet I won't spill it? The tape is somewhere in the nightstand. Look for it. Okay. Okay. Well, you disappeared in the doorway, and I dragged my feet into the neighboring room. It's in the nightstand? Is that what they said? What the heck? Olya's countless toys. An old teddy bear is the main attraction here. Olya doesn't sleep without it. And she digs... What? And she digs her nose into its fur when she sleeps? I thought they were about to say she picks her nose. Wait, a piggy bank. Olya is saving money for a real puppy because Dad said that taking care of him will take a lot of money. Oh, that's cute. What about this? The scary window where Olya sees that accursed owl. Owl every night lurking in the dark. Olya keeps curtains open during the day, but as soon as twilight comes, she shuts them tight so she wouldn't see the pair of hungry eyes outside. Okay. Do I have anything else? Anything else? Shoebox? Shoebox? I think that's it. Okay. Turn on. The old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the button on the front panel. The tube warmed up, familiar white noise started dancing on the black screen. I almost reached out into the VCR, and when the noise calmed down, a blurry image appeared for a moment. The woods? It was a dark taiga forest just like the one outside my window. The picture split to half the screen. Something creepy resembling human speech was coming out the speaker. I don't like that. Just a few moments later, the scenery was again overshadowed by noise. Did I catch some rogue signal? Local TV stations only really showed Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. And only just recently, I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was so awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna. What if I catch this channel again? On the other hand, Olya had asked me to find the tape. It'd be nice. It wouldn't be nice to disappoint her. But in my sleepy state, I didn't have the strength to do all of it. Okay. Yeah. I sifted through the shelves full of dolls and blue hippos from Kinder Surprise. I found the tape I needed thanks to its shabby spine. Okay. Okay. We're gonna watch Peter Pan, chat. We're gonna watch some Peter Pan. The tape inside it rustled while rewinding to the beginning. The rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowsiness attacked me while I was squatting before the TV. Images whirled in my head, me and Olya flying above the forest, tumbling in the soft clouds. My little sister is laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I notice that the clouds underneath us part, bearing the bristly pine tops. Swampy darkness slurped amongst trees. The wings are no longer able to hold us, Olya. You haven't started without me, have you? My sister brought me the tray with unevenly cut bread and a whole can of condensed milk. Peter Pan is like, it's a cartoon about a boy in spandex that lives forever, and he takes little children off to Neverland to be young forever. My sister brought the tray of unevenly cut bread. I rubbed my eyes. No, come sit. Mom and Dad are arguing again. They're going through rough times. Rough times are lame. On the screen, Wendy was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser. Olya was entertained by the cartoonish dog Nana. Maybe Mom and... What the heck? Oh, is that Captain Hook? Tinkerbell? What is that, though? Maybe Mom and Dad will... Oh, is that the crocodile? Mom and Dad will buy us a dog, too. Yeah, right. I'll have my own dog in the Neverland, and a cat, and a parrot. Oh, she's going to Neverland, huh? She's gonna go to Neverland. That is true. I do not ever just drink condensed milk. I put it in cakes, though. Olya smeared a slice of bread with a thick layer of condensed milk and handed it to me. I mean, milk and bread, condensed milk and bread, you know. It's food. Have you lost all of your baby teeth? Obviously. Olya frowned deep in thought. Peter Pan has baby teeth. What if they won't let you go to his land with adult teeth? We'll think of something. Well, ask Dad to alter your age in the passport. Yeah, I'm sure Peter Pan checks your passports. And why would Dad forge documents? Olya took a bite from the sandwich and started talking with her mouth full. He would. I heard Mom say he did that before. You'll grow ears as big as Dumbo's. Olya got worried and touched her ear. I smiled to myself. Yo, this game is so 90s pilled. My little sister was silent now. She just devoured her bread, watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinker Bell, and James Hook. James Hook? Was his name James? As if she got sucked into the fairy tale Neverland. To be honest, I also imagined myself there in a land where one never ages, where no one argues over little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of broken plates at night. It felt like I was dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister's scream pulled me back to reality. Scream? Tasha, shut the curtains fast! Why? No one's watching you. It's dark, and when it's dark, the owl comes. I'm scared. I got out of bed, fighting my drowsiness, and closed the curtains. There you go. I did my best not to look outside towards the treetops, towards the taiga forest, which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just a visual effect from the shadows of branches scraping the snow. Tasha, Mom thinks I made the owl up, and Dad does too. And Dad too, thinks I'm a liar since I'm small. But the owl exists. Honestly it does. Do you believe me, right? That it comes every night and I swiftly grabbed Olya's hand and looked at her in the eyes. I was trying to transfer at least some of my courage and determination. But did I really have those qualities? Yes, I believe you, alright? Just don't nag our parents about it anymore. They're already dealing with a lot, so they'll just get mad at you. Come and tell me if anything happens. And don't look out the window. But it wants me to look. Doesn't matter. Act like it doesn't matter and never existed. Like it's made up. Just like Mom and Dad say. It'll get tired of waiting and fly away. Okay. What now? What can we do? Oh, we followed Peter Pan's adventures as if nothing had happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from a crocodile and Captain Pan? Okay, yeah, Captain Pan was headed to London on a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my sister. Oh. Olya's eyelids had dropped since starting... she started snorting lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Olya's room. I was looking out the window, studying the field, when Mom peeked into my room. Enough playing around. It's your first day of school tomorrow. Go to bed. You should sleep properly. You don't want to be teased for being sleepy, right? Wait, okay. Who in their right mind is like, hey, let's pick on this sleepy kid. Yo, check out Sleepy over there. Hey, why don't you go get some rest, dude? Bro, you look like you didn't sleep. And it's like, oh no, it hurts. Adults think everything is so simple. As if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. It's not ensuring. She said that you won't get made fun of for being tired, but your glasses, that's free game, brother. I covered myself with a blanket up to my neck and listened to the house humming, to something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just a part of growing up and I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind the barriers that was my walls. Some ethereal entity wandered the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on in the night. My thoughts were like annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. It has come, after all. The day I feared most. The first day of a new school term. Episode 2. Okay. I think episode 2 is the stopping point. This game is awesome. We're gonna play it next Thursday. So all of you Russian viewers, come back in Thursday and check it out. To everybody on YouTube, I appreciate you watching. I'll have another episode come out probably next week around the same time that this video's out. So, thank you guys for watching. And also, before I forget, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps.